Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Project Kit today. My name is Aditya.
And I'm Robin.
Yeah, and we have a fantastic episode for you guys today, but unfortunately, the two of us were discussing and we realized we don't really have any banter for you guys. So,
this will be a serious episode.
Yeah, maybe we should banter about the fact that we don't have anything significant happening in our lives. I think the peak of everything.
What does it say about us?
We're pretty chill people, I think. Some might call us boring, but I refuse to believe that. I think we just like to keep it cash.
So, keeping it casual essentially means that we don't have anything going on in our life.
Yes, but it's not a bad thing.
But how? I mean, I'm not saying that we should have something going on in our life, but how is being casual related to not having anything going on in your life?
It means you're content with the things. You're content with the way things are. You got things going on. You got your routine. Be it work, school. Dropping the kids off. No, never mind. But you got things going on.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. So no, but it just means that there's nothing, no big events happening. But you're chill. You're enjoying life. You're just kind of passing the time and getting things done.
I don't relate.
Okay, yes. In your case, university's got you held down. But at least me, I'm like I said, I'm currently in Kerala. So far things have been chill.
Living the
aside
good
from
life.
Spiders are the only thing. It's funny. Last episode we talked about my huge fear for spiders, and right after that very night, that one room where I said spiders wouldn't turn up, it turned up, and then disappeared for a week. No spiders.
Okay. Let's just keep to not having a rant.
I'm sorry, spiders get me riled up. Okay, anyway, we have a fantastic show lined up. To give you a bit of preview, we're going to be talking about the legal battle between the band Thaikkudambridge and the film, or the musicians of the film Kantara, which was a huge hit last October, November. We're going to dive in a bit and hope to bring out some philosophical conversations from it. Now, we're just going to talk about it, but stick around. You're listening to episode 16. Stay tuned. Okay, so I tell you what, let me take this one since I was the one that suggested the topic. So I don't know if you, the listeners, have kept up with music industry news per se, but I mean, I neither do I, to be honest. I occasionally check Rolling Stone and a bunch of other places to see what's happening, but I'm pretty
Rolling
AFK.
Stone is music news.
Yeah, the music journalism or whatever it is you want to call it. So
but Rolling Stones is also a band, right?
Yes, but
Are
that
they
was
the same?
It's funny. I asked myself the same question and I don't have an answer.
Okay, moving on.
yeah, that's for another episode. Yeah, no, but anyway, I check a bunch of websites, and this. So I think I may mention an episode or two back that I did kind of an internship where I was working on like lesson plans. I had to make music lessons for high school and middle school children, and as a part of that I ended up doing a bit of research on a bunch of things. So one of the activities I ended up prescribing for that was like it was basically about this legal case, and I didn't really know much about it till then. I think I'd heard of it. I heard about the film. I'd heard about this little bit of controversy, admittedly a month after it happened, but I ended up reading a bit more about it, and I was just fascinated because so here's the thing, there are not that many legal battles, so to say, at least for copyright, that I've seen in India. Like there definitely are, but in frequency I've definitely heard more about stuff happening in the West as opposed to here. So this was definitely interesting to see, and also particularly because the songs that we're going to talk about that are involved in this copyright dispute are surprisingly, I mean, there are similarities, which gives some ground for conversation about, I guess, plagiarism in music and versus inspiration, which is what we're going to get to. I mean, also just generally because Thaikkudam is one. I love Thaikkudambridge. I love the music, so this was very interesting to check out. Anyway, so I did a bit of reading into this, and like I mentioned, the big conclusion, the big question that came out of this is like, okay, what is music plagiarism? What can you consider as music plagiarism, and what counts as inspiration? Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to take this song as kind of like a case study, and then, okay, that sounds very academic. I'm going to rephrase
case
that.
study, like what?
We're going to...
Why? Are you trying to drive our audiences away?
No, sorry, I didn't mean
Case
to cause
study is
you
what
with-
I'm busy with now.
I'm sorry, look, when you study, after a point, you start to use certain words. Case study, examples become case studies, and so on and so forth. But anyway, we're going to use this, I guess, example to kind of facilitate a bigger conversation about like plagiarism and inspiration and credits and a lot of different things. So let's start by this. I'll run over what exactly happened, and then we can sort of move the conversation to, at what point does, or what counts as plagiarism, what doesn't. So if you haven't, we'll definitely link some articles and stuff that we referenced for this episode in the description, so don't worry if it's a lot of information. I'll try to concise it as best as possible. But yeah, Kantara, the film, which I guess talks about, which is a film basically about, I think, an art style from a particular folk community in, I think it's Karnataka, if I'm not wrong. That film has a song called Varaha Rupam, which talks about a particular kind of mimicry art form that's sort of native to the area, and that song was claimed to be by Thaikkudambridge. They claimed that the song sounded very similar to their own, their own track from 2017, so 6 years ago, called Navarasam, which is from, I think, their first studio album. The songs are both rock songs. They have rock elements, they have drums, guitars, and even solo sections. And as we'll kind of discuss a bit, we both of us figured that after listening to both songs, we kind of thought that the songs, at least in concept, had some similarities. So obviously, after hearing this, Thaikkudambridge approached the writers for this particular song, and I guess a discussion happened in private. Thaikkudam wasn't satisfied, so they decided to take the case to court. I think Kerala, a court in Kerala, a district court. So after some, I guess after the case is filed, after a whole bunch of proceedings, the court, I think it was a Kori court, I'm not sure. I'll have to check this. But anyway, whichever court was presiding over the case, decided to limit or restrict the streaming of this song on OTT platforms and music streaming services. So you basically wouldn't have been able to listen to it at the time. This decision was finally overturned, where the court found that they found that there were, quote, no similarities between both songs, and there was no case for Thaikkudam at all. So that's essentially the gist of it. There are quite a few more details, obviously, but maybe what we can do is I'll just quickly read Thaikkudam's. So they basically posted like a statement on Facebook where they talked about this. Let me see if I can just pull that up and quickly read through it. So the post went like this. We would like our listeners to know that Thaikkudambridge is in no way or form affiliated with Kantara, in quotes. The unavoidable similarities between our IP Navarasam and Varaharupam in terms of audio is therefore a blatant infringement of copyright laws. From our standpoint, the line between inspired and plagiarized is distinct and indisputable, and therefore we will be seeking legal action against the creative team responsible for this. There has been no acknowledgement of our rights over the content, and the song is propagated as an original piece of work by the movie's creative team. We request the support of our listeners and encourage you to spread the word. So yeah, that's pretty much what the message was. And I guess in the end it didn't work out for them. Okay, so that's the story. Lot to take in. But Robin, what are your thoughts? Fresh after hearing this?
I was just thinking about, like, they clearly sound very pissed about this.
Very.
Now, to be honest, like I may have. I don't think I've like heard them side by side, so I'm like now curious to see like how similar these tracks are.
Yeah, we can probably do this. We can.
Yeah.
What I'll do is
let's just. Yeah.
So
let's just use OBS now. do
Yeah,
sort of
we'll
stream it.
I'll play both songs for you guys, and it won't be the entire thing because both songs combined is like 10 minutes. But I'll play maybe like 30 seconds of each, and then we can maybe talk about the intro of the song, because I feel that's where most of the similarities that maybe Thaikkudam is talking about exist. So yeah, I'll just quickly pull this up, and then I'll play a snippet of Navarasam, the quote unquote original, and then I'll play Kantara, so you can take a listen and sort of just judge the similarities. Here's a snippet of Navarasam, the quote unquote original version of this version or song by Thaikkudambridge. Enjoy. Yeah, so that's the, I guess, first 50 seconds of Navrasam. So let me quickly switch over and then play the intro for Kantara for you guys. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so
They're
thoughts
similar, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can still sort of conceive the idea of this being like just a coincidence. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
it
I
just
guess
seems
also
to be like a similarity of just being part of the same genre. With like some
Yeah.
chords here and there being similar and like the soundscaping, but like it doesn't seem like cheating, like in the way that
Yeah. No, I partially agree with you. I don't think it's a coincidence, though. I would say that there was some degree of inspiration from Navrasam for this song, but not in terms of the composition. So, okay, disclaimer: I'm not a classical musician. Neither is Robin. So there's no way we can pick apart the notes and tell you, okay, this is from this rag or this is from this particular composition or scale or whatever, right? But I mean, just in terms of direction of the notes, the chords that were used, the instrumentation, there are differences, and it's clear that this is not a clear and cut copy. Inspiration. Now, maybe before we answer this question, let's talk about definitions or what exactly we mean by plagiarism and by inspiration. So I'll kind of start. So for me, I guess plagiarism would mean you take something
someone else's work and passing off as your own work. That's what plagiarism
someone else's work. Yeah, someone else's work, right? But it's sort of, I guess, that implied in that definition, at least the way I see it, is like there's a sense of that work being kind of set in stone. Like, oh, this person at this point in time wrote this and did this. Whereas inspiration can, and you've so going back, sorry, with plagiarism, like you're taking something and yeah, you're saying it's your own, but it's kind of oftentimes direct copy, right? Or a cut and paste, or like, for example, when you write, you paraphrase, right? Oftentimes, even paraphrasing can be plagiarism because you take what someone said verbatim, maybe you change a few words, but you pass it off as your own. With inspiration, I feel it's different. With inspiration, you're building upon someone else's work to create something new. there are degrees of new. Like not everything that's new, quote unquote new, is going to be 100% original. That's just how inspiration works, right? There's no way something you make is going to be 100% original all the time. For example, music especially, so many genres of music have taken what's existed before and then built upon them. Rock music, blues, even pop music as a genre is so familiar.
I mean, like, specifically, since you talk about the blues, especially in blues, it's almost an expectation of the genre, since it's a folk genre, actually speaking. Basically, like, the traditional way to go about the blues is to honor and respect the people who came before you, and to, like, sort of, it's kind of like, think of it as passing on the torchlight to the next generation, and then you sort of continue sort of playing, which is why, like, so much of blues music to me sounds like very similar. Like, it's like, like, yes, obviously I'm not here saying that, like, a Stevie Ray Vaughan is exactly the same as Albert King, who was I mean, they have their own unique, distinct styles. I'm not making such a claim, but still, all in all, they do sound like pretty similar, and that's because that's the expectation of the genre. Like,
exactly. And they're using similar chord structures, similar techniques. Those are all sort of built into the genre
genre itself. Yes, exactly.
The language they're using is very, very tight knit, and that's just blues. There's already so much fusion music that pushes the boundary of that. But if you're talking blues, like you mentioned, your Stevie Ray Vaughans, your sorry, I'm not very I'm
Stevie
not very
Ray
adept.
Vaughan, Albert King,
Albert King,
Jimi
King,
Hendrix, Buddy Guy.
Jimi Hendrix, there you go.
Eric
So
Clapton.
those artists all would have similarities, right? And I argue it's the same thing with other genres of music. Pop music. You know what, let's not even look at pop music. Let's look within our own country itself. Even within classical repertoires, the rags that people practice and perform are ones that have existed for decades, hundreds of years, right? That's since they've been around for a while, and the compositions people write are going to sound similar in some way because you're using the same set of notes, same set of rules. A rag is nothing, at least from my understanding, what I've read up and studied a little bit, is a rag is nothing but
a scale.
Your choice. It's no. So so I'm gonna talk about this specifically from Hindustani music because that's what I've read up a bit more. If anyone in the audience is a Carnatic vocalist or musician, do correct me, or apply, make corrections depending on what it is for Carnatic. But at least with Hindustani, a parent scale, right? Like we have major minor scales in Western music, is called a tat, THAAT, right? So that's bad. It's not the actual spelling, but yeah. And then from that parent scale, a rag is, I guess, a set of notes taken and then put together in a particular structure, and those are the rules based on which you compose songs, right?
So a rag comes from a tat.
Basically, a larger parent scale is there of existing notes, and then the rag takes some notes from that scale based on the structure of that scale, and then writes rules for compositions, essentially, right? So I mean, if these rags have been there for so long, right, then if you write a composition using them, then isn't that the same as taking the major scale and then, writing a song based on it? You're going to have similarities. They're going to be overlaps.
It's the equivalent of the two songs being on the same key, like the G major key, and then they might sound a little similar, but you can't put copyright on a scale.
Yeah, exactly. And especially so in this particular case, like I said, I'm not sure if the exact same rag was used for the Kantara song as was Navrasam, but they sound similar and they start in the same key. So you're bound to have some notes. In fact, let's do this. So while I was doing a little reading or research for this, I actually opened up Logic and I put the introductory violin. So in Navrasam, the start of the song has violin, right? Whereas in Kantara, that same the tune on top of the guitar is played by a trumpet-like instrument called Nadaswaram. Actually, no, technically it's a double reed, but it's called a Nadaswaram. And basically, I put the melodies together, and they sound completely different. So let me just quickly, share my screen, and we can sort of see how different they are. So I'll play the Navarasam one first, of course, and I'll play the Kantara song second. So, okay, that's not accurate, obviously, because it wasn't played, but that's the gist of it. Those are the notes that I used. And then compare this to the double reed instrument in Varaharupam.
That's different.
Yeah, so those are different notes.
Yeah.
If you combine them together, sure, like you could argue they kind of harmonize, but again, they probably are. They start in the same key, probably use similar rags or composition structure. So
sounded even rhythmically, it sounded very different. They didn't sound in sync at all.
And there are, so kind of on that note, there are differences. So I mentioned earlier that structurally, I think I don't think that this is a coincidence. Like, I do think there's some inspiration there. I can't obviously verify, I don't have proof, but I can speculate. So
the thing is, like, there were only few seconds in that Kantara, I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Kantara
intro. There were few seconds in there which sounded like exactly the same as but like it's only like a second and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Felt like
so essentially, the I guess the reason I'm speculating, but the reason maybe Thaikkudam felt it was similar was, so both songs start out with the guitar part, and I guess it's an electric guitar, but again, what they're playing are totally different.
Yeah.
It starts out with the guitars, and then you have the violin / the double reed that comes in, right, and then plays on top of that, and they play a melody. Suddenly, after that melody is complete, the drums kick in, you have guitars playing, and then it's sort of holding the root note of that key. I don't know what note that is. I'm just going to double check based on based on that is G, I think. No, that's not G. Sorry. That is a G. Yeah. So it's in the key of G, I guess. So they're holding that note throughout that entire section, right? Obviously, the difference is Navarasam is a metal track. It's metal, whereas Varaharupam is more hard rock, I guess you could call it. And Navarasam contains much more like heavy guitars, and the drums are more active.
Yeah, like I mean, like even the start, like the Navaswaram start, like it was like so intense.
It's Navarasam,
sorry.
Even I'm probably also butchering the pronunciation.
Navarasam start is so intense in comparison to what was the, oh my god, I'm not getting any of the names right. What is the other song?
Varaharupam. I'm also butchering. Don't worry,
Varaharupam.
Yeah, that's the.
Varaharupam. Like, I wouldn't say that it was soft, but like the contrast is very evident when you hear the song side by side.
Yeah, and so we won't play the songs, we'll link them both in description, but once the verse kicks in, the melody is also different. There's a section where both in the case of Navarasam, the violin, and in the case of Kantara, it's the wind instrument. There's a section where both of them play. Again, the melody they're playing differs. There's an overlap, and I think it's specifically with 3 notes. I'm just going to see if I can... I won't be able to find it, but maybe I'll find a way to make a demo of that or something, or link it or reference it in the the description. But there are maybe 2 or 3 notes that overlap. That's about it. Even the solos are different. In the solo for Navarasam, the guitars play under a changing chord progression. The solo in the Kantara song don't really do that. So there are differences. I haven't really got to the full song, so won't comment on the whole thing, but to say that this is a blatant copy is incorrect. So getting back to my point, which was, is it inspired? I definitely think so. The structure of the song is similar, like Robin mentioned, up till kind of the halfway point, and even a little beyond that as well. So it's sort of, it wouldn't be I don't think it would be a far-fetched statement to say that some inspiration, at least from maybe the general genre that Navarasam is a part of, or even the song itself. Like, I don't think that's completely out of the picture as a possibility. And interestingly, I was reading one of the articles, maybe I'll link it as well, where one of the comments says, actually agreed, sort of argued in favor of Kantara, saying there's so many songs I can name right now that Navarasam sounds similar to. Obviously, they've definitely taken inspiration from Western heavy metal, right? So I don't think there's a clear-cut answer here, but I definitely think that there's a strong possibility that that inspiration, has been taken from Navarasam to make the Kantara song, which brings me to the next point, right? So is the issue really the fact that inspiration was taken, the fact that something was plagiarized, or the fact that you've taken something and not credited it?
One second. I'm confused. Are you saying your conclusion here is that it is not plagiarized, right?
It's not plagiarized.
But you still think it's inspired? You think
I think it's I think
you
it's
think
inspired.
that the Kantara people actually are inspired by, what was the name of the other track again?
Navarasam.
Oh my god, I was again going to call it Narswaram.
For simplicity, we'll say Thaikkudam song and Kantara song. Fine?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So so I was saying that the Thaikkudam song,
Kantara people, they did take inspiration from the Thaikkudam song.
That's my theory. Again, I'm speculating, because if you look at the structure of the song, both songs start out with the guitar section, then the violin / the wind instrument comes in, there's a breakdown, the verses right after that. Structurally after that, there's a solo, there's sections with each of the wind instrument and the violin. I mean, it's similar. So conceptually in terms of song structure, I mean, conceptually in terms of song structure, I'd say
did you just structure? What did you say?
I confused it. I meant to say song structure, but I said strong structure.
Strong structure. Wow.
That's going to be a hashtag for this episode. No, but yeah, I mean, in terms of inspiration, I definitely think that's a possibility. I won't confirm. I can't. There's no way I can. Right? There's no way I can get in the heads of the artists, because I think that interaction between the band and the writers of Kantara was a very kind of private one. So I don't think I can get into their heads, but I can speculate. So I would say that, so at the least, it's a coincidence. At the most, it's inspiration from Navarasam taken for Kantara.
But it's not plagiarism in any case.
It's not plagiarism. I don't think there's a case there. But I mean, hey, that's just our opinion. We're not legal experts. So if any of you are and have an opinion, do share. We'll add a poll in the description for the episode.
Yeah, actually, that's another funny thing about these music related cases. That even lawyers with all their expertise, will have to get into the technicalities of music making. So it's usually it so happens is that even though the musicians have their advocates, it's still the musicians who are tend to fight the case, because just a small reference to the other to another case, which was the Ed Sheeran and
Marvin Gaye.
Oh my god, again I got something wrong. Marvin case, where Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud is said to be plagiarized with
Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, it's like the groove and everything's very similar, but
and the chords also.
Groove and the chords are very similar, but the melody is different. There's very famous thing, very famous occurrence, I guess, where Ed Sheeran literally just takes his guitar in the chord
and he plays it in a chord. Yeah,
and he plays several songs in the same chords to demonstrate that you can't own chords. You can't sue someone for
I don't think. Again, so I think it depends. It varies context to context. There's no clear-cut answer for every case. And again, in Ed Sheeran's case, it's pop music, right? I think it might be difficult to compare something like that with, Varaharupam, because again, they're using two very different, or not very different, but two different musical systems, right? So that's always an interesting thing to navigate.
There's a VR2 video on it which sums up the case very well, which we can link to this episode.
Maybe we'll do that as well. But anyway, I guess so. My concluding point from all of this, right, is is the issue at the end of the day the fact that people take inspiration / take or plagiarize something, or the fact that they do it and don't credit the original person? Is that what the issue is, or is it to do with the taking of the art itself?
Well, I mean,
Because
like
if
in the end of the day, it comes to money, wherein, like, let's say if you like this whole thing about intellectual property, right, which is your work, which is like, it's not something solid, as in something that you can hold in your hand per se, but it's your idea, right? And now, even in the Kantara and Thaikkudam case, uh, if it were true that Kantara did plagiarize off of Thaikkudam's idea, and like profited so much, like that movie is so famous, that song must, like, people must have listened to it, streamed how many times, like, who knows, but what if it was actually plagiarized? Then Thaikkudam is liable to get some of that money, right?
yeah,
um,
so yeah,
so
I guess so. And I mean, you could make a similar argument for the Ed Sheeran case as well, perhaps.
if like Ed Sheeran had plagiarized, then obviously Marvin,
Is
he
entitled
is
to, yeah,
entitled to, yeah.
which is interesting. I mean, again, not gonna lie. I mean, it's fairly understood that it's not very easy to make money in the music industry. It's a very cutthroat, very competitive space.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see how these things play out. But yeah, I mean, like I said, at the very least, it's a coincidence. At the most, it's inspiration. I do not think it's plagiarism. Let us know what you guys thought. I mean, this conversation can go on for hours. It's genuinely a whole rabbit hole of its own. But yeah, that's about it. We've been planning to do this episode, I think, for the last couple of weeks actually, but a lot of ideas popped in and we wanted to do those first, so we kind of did that. And then this also required some reading and a bit of thinking, so that's why we wanted to save it for a day we could actually prep for. But yeah, interesting case. I love talking about it. I hope Robin, this has cured your headache.
Yeah, it's definitely reduced it.
Yeah, that's good. Well, yeah, I'm frankly a little exhausted mentally, but fun episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. This has been a really, really fun episode. Let us know what your thoughts are on this case. We'll link some resources in the description, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.